Yeah, you moved it. Well, I don't know if you meant to, but like, yeah, it did. No, it like fell. I think it's just because it's like really loose, so it's like literally just progressively going. Yeah. There, that's good. That's perfect. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shri Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Where's your dog? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jaya Jaya Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jai Jagannath, Jaya Jaya Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Jaya Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Gauranidai, Jaya Gauranidai, Gauranidai, Jaya Gauranidai, Gauranidai, Jaya Gauranidai. Narsinghadev, Jaya Narsinghadev, Narsinghadev, Jaya Narsinghadev. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Oh, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Should I do a different thing? Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Pramanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome to today's Sunday Feast program. Today I have the service to give the class on the first verse of Nectar of Instruction. So we'll sing Jai Radha Madhav and then we will discuss the verse 1 of Nectar of Instruction. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So welcome once again to today's Sunday feast program. So today we are starting wonderful, wonderful series of the Nectar of Instruction. Who wrote Nectar of Instruction? Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki Jai. And we have wonderful commentary, wonderful translation by Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanand Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakti Brind Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So by the blessings and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Shri Guru and Gaurang, we will try to understand this first verse of the Nectar of Instruction today. So Nectar of Instruction, this is a wonderful, wonderful book, a very small book. I'm not sure if all of you have it, but if you don't have it, we must have this book. And just 100-page book, very, very powerful. Only 11 verses, but they can take us from the platform of Shraddha, faith, till Krishna Prem. That powerful this book is. And our gurus in ISKCON says this is the first book that one should master in ISKCON. And this is not something that we can just read and master. It will take the whole lifetime to master these instructions. So I'm very thankful to Ansuya Mataji to give me this service that reminded me I'm still at the platform number 1 right now. The verse number 1 even is not, I am not able to cross. So good reminder for me. So we'll read the verse. This is the book we are reading, the Nectar of Instruction. Oh, yeah, wonderful. And I will suggest, please go ahead, Prabhu. I will request all the devotees to actually purchase it, this book. Not very costly, very powerful book. So you can contact Nitya Gopal Prabhu after the program if you don't have this book. Thank you, Prabhu. So this is the page number 1, text 1. I will pause for a few seconds. I will also display on the projector. So we all, I will recite and all of us can repeat. Vacho Vegam Manasaha Krodha Vegam Jivha Vegam Udar Upastha Vegam Etan Vegan Yaha Vishahet Dhiraha Sarvam Api Imam Prathvim Saha Shishyat Vacho Vegam Mansaha Krodha Vegam Jivha Vegam Udarupastha Vegam Etan Vegan Yo Vishayet Dhiraha Sarvam Apimam Prathvim Sasishyayat. Maybe a couple of devotees can recite, one from Prabhuji's side, one from Mataji's side. Vacho Vegam Manasaha Krodha Vegam Jivha Vegam Upastha Vegam Etan Vegan Yo Vishahet Dhiraha Sarvam Apimam Prathvim Sasishyayat. Anyone from Mataji's side? Vacho Manasaha Krodha Vegam Jiva Vegam Darupastha Vegam Etan Vegan Yo Vishahet Dhiraha Sarvam Apimam Prathvim Sasishyayat. Thank you. Vachaha of speech, Vegam the urge, Manasaha of the mind, Krodh of anger, Vegam the urge, Jiva of the tongue, Vegam the urge, Udar Upastha of the belly and genitals, Vegam the urge, Etan these, Vegan urges, Yaha whoever, Vishahet can tolerate, Dhiraha sober, Sarvam all, Api certainly, Imam this, Prathvim world, Saha that personality, Shishyat can make disciples. Translation: a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So it's a long purport. I will read few sentences and then we will go directly to the points. And as I requested everyone, please get this book and make sure we read it at home because it's something that we have to practice. I know the spiritual masters, our spiritual masters say, this is a book that we cannot just read. We have to practice. This is a very, very practical book.
Devotees can pick this book for small
Yes, yes. So please, I will say directly purchase this book, give some donation, and then it will be a wonderful collection for our home. So purport by Srila Prabhupada, in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.9 and 10, Parikshit Maharaj placed a number of intelligent questions before Shukdev Goswami. One of these questions was, why do people undergo atonement if they cannot control their senses? For instance, a thief may know perfectly well that he may be arrested for his stealing, and he may actually even see another thief arrested by the police, yet he continues to steal. Experience is gathered by hearing and seeing. One who is less intelligent gathers experience by seeing, and one who is more intelligent gathers experience by hearing. When an intelligent person hears from the law books and shastras or scriptures that stealing is not good, and hears that a thief is punished when arrested, he refrains from theft. A less intelligent person may first have to be arrested and punished for stealing to learn to stop stealing. However, a rascal, a foolish man, may have the experience of both hearing and seeing, and may even be punished, but still he continues to steal. Even if such a person atones and is punished by the government, he will again commit theft as soon as he comes out of jail. If punishment in jail is considered atonement, what is the benefit of such atonement? So very intelligent question by Parikshit Maharaj that he's asking to Srila Shukdev Goswami. And I think many of us can relate to that instead of knowing that some kind of activity that we do in the daily life is not good for our spiritual life, or in general also for our life as it is. But because of our conditioning, because of the pressures of the modes of material nature, we end up anyway committing those actions, right? And Srila Prabhupada is saying that's not intelligence. So, just a little background of this scripture, Nectar of Instruction. It's composed by Srila Rupa Goswami. And who is Srila Rupa Goswami? One of the 6 Goswamis, the prominent. He's the leader of all the Goswamis. Why is it important? Because he has been tasked by Lord himself, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to propagate this Krishna consciousness movement in the whole world. That was his service. And he came from a very opulent background. He was a big finance minister in the kingdom of that then Muslim ruler at that time. So his earning was like in lakhs of gold coins, pure gold coins, not the artificial ones. So very, very opulent, both Srila Rupa Goswami and his brother Sanatana Goswami. In spite of that, they end up leaving everything because they had this vacuum in their life and they wanted to pursue spiritual life. And eventually they end up leaving everything and become mendicants in Vrindavan. And they composed very, very elevated scriptures. And Srila Prabhupada says that this Krishna consciousness movement, he says in the preface of this book, the Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. And he also says in the preface of Nectar of Devotion, the present Krishna consciousness movement is based on the authority of Srila Rupa Goswami. We are therefore generally known as Rupanugas, or followers in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. And what else we are known as? To be more specific, Prabhupadanuga. Because Srila Prabhupada, through Prabhupada only, all these teachings, what all the Goswamis have given to us, they are coming to us. So first we are Srila Prabhupada Anuga and then Rupa Anuga. And so what is the name of the book? Nectar of Instruction. Nectar means nectar, Amrit, right, in Sanskrit. And Updesha, in the Sanskrit meaning of instruction is Updesh, Updeshamrit. So this is nectar of instruction, meaning this is the topmost instructions that Srila Rupa Goswami has given us, and very, very auspicious for our spiritual progress. Why it is auspicious? Because if we follow these instructions that we will see, that can make our spiritual bond with Krishna, with God, very strong. These are the basic qualifications, actually, to start making connection with Krishna. And see, the spiritual advancement doesn't happen overnight. It's a step-by-step progress, right? And these instructions can take us from step 1 to the last step, whatever that step is for anybody. And there are 4 reasons Srila Rupa Goswami gave us this nectar of instruction, so that he can guide our activities, our spiritual activities. We may become Goswamis. Srila Prabhupada says that we have to become from Godas to Goswamis. What is Godas? Godas means we are control of senses. Go means senses. So right now, in the conditioned state, I'm talking about myself, I'm under the control of my senses. So if I want to seriously pursue spiritual life, Krishna conscious life, and even forget about spiritual life, in general also, if we have to improve the quality of our life, one has to control his senses, even to get material success, right? We cannot just sleep anytime, just cannot eat anytime, whatever we like. We have to control in some way or the other. So when we talk about spiritual life, it even becomes more important. So to become Goswamis. So Goswamis doesn't mean that we have to become, big acharya. That's not the goal, right? We have to follow their instructions, but the point is that from Godas we have to become Goswamis. We have to master our senses. And it's a step-by-step progress. Will not happen overnight. Also, he gave us nectar of instruction so that we can become pure Vaishnavas, pure devotees. And when we follow these instructions, actually our spiritual life, our efforts in spiritual life becomes easier. Otherwise, it all becomes theoretical. When we don't control our senses, don't follow these instructions, it's not easy to practice spirituality. So the first thing Srila Prabhupada says in the purport is that in all our spiritual efforts, the first thing is we have to control our senses. And just not senses, both mind and senses, we have to control. So he says, unless one controls his mind and senses, one cannot make any advancement. So that's a prerequisite. Now, what happens when we control our mind and senses? We become dhira, sober. Why is that important? Because in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Dhiras tatra na muyati. Who can be successful in spiritual life? One who is controlled in both the dualities of life, whether it's heat and cold, whether it is happiness or sadness. Whoever is, very stable in any situation of life, he is dhira, sober person, who is fully controlled. So, dhiras tatra na muyati. Unless one becomes dhira, we cannot understand what is spiritual life, because then we are still, having up and downs in the spiritual life. So, Krishna says, to understand spiritual life, we have to become dhira, and Rupa Goswami is giving us the formula to become dhira. We have to control our speech, number 1. So before we go into the verse, just a quick, very 1-minute introduction of the whole scripture. There are 11 verses, only 11 verses in this. First 3 verses tells us how to conduct ourselves in our personal life. What should be our conduct in our personal life. The 4th verse, and we will see when we will see the whole series in the future, the 4th verse tells us, guides us, how should be our behavior with others. and specifically for, in our case, how should be our behavior with devotees. So, from verse 1 through 4, it tells us about what is the dharma of a devotee, what is his achar, personal conduct, and his conduct with others. Verse 5 and 6 will tell us how to identify a devotee and take association. Very important. Association is very important. We always say association of devotees. So Srila Rupa Goswami give us very nice instructions and hints in those two verses 5 and 6 that how can we identify a devotee, what level a particular devotee is in, and how should we take the association and elevate ourselves. Because it's an art. Taking association is also an art. Then verse number 7 and 8 will tell us how should we chant. Because what is our goal? To connect with Krishna. What is the process to connect with Krishna, with God, is chanting. So why are we doing all this? Why we are learning all these things? So that we can connect with Krishna effectively. So once we learn how to conduct ourselves personally, how to connect with others, how to conduct or act with others, how to associate with devotees, then we learn how should we chant. And then in the last three verses, 9, 10, and 11, the goal of chanting is mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami. So this is the flow. Now, in this verse, the focus is on how can we become from the servant of mind and senses to the master of mind and senses. See, for example, when we join an old company, right, old job, when we leave that and join a new company, we cannot say, I will keep on working for the old company also. New company will kick us out, right? So when we say we have to leave Maya, means we have to leave Maya. If our goal is Krishna. If we want to join Krishna's company, then we have to leave Maya's company. We cannot say, I will be in your company, Krishna, but a little bit I will work for Maya also. It doesn't work like that, just like in our material life. So, if that is the resolution we have, then this verse is very useful. It is saying to control the senses, what one has to control first is the urge to speak, our speech. Now, there are 6 urges they are mentioned here. The urge to speak, the mind, demands, desires in the mind, anger, the urge to be angry, the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. So we'll go through one by one, and hopefully we can discuss a few points. Now, how do these urges manifest? Any comments? We want to lord it over material nature? Yeah, that is one point. Because of our conditioning. So many of past times, lifetimes of karma and all that, our interest in the material world, right? And mainly, these urges come through our senses. There are 5 knowledge-acquiring senses. What are those 5 knowledge-acquiring senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So when these 5 knowledge-acquiring senses come into contact with their objects, their sense objects, for example, something we see, right? Something we could smell, or eat, or hear something, some sound, some very passionate sound. So the desires, the urges will start coming, right? So this is very critical to understand how we are giving input to our mind through these knowledge-acquiring senses. Then mind gets agitated, and then these urges come to us. And then our reactions become very impulsive. If we are not in controlled state, our reactions will become very impulsive. Now, Srila Prabhupada is also mentioning where Parikshit Maharaj is asking about atonement. Why we are doing this atonement? Like, for example, the example comes in the purport that a lot of Christians, they go to church on Saturday or Sunday, when I think usually they go on Sundays. Then what happens? They confess whatever sins they have committed for the last week, the whole last week. They give some donation, and it is understood that they will be free out of those sins. And then again, they go back, commit the same thing for the whole week, and then again come back Sunday. So one devotee was mentioning that one person came to the church and gave confesses to the church minister. And then usually they used to give $20 donation every time. And that means if you give the donation and confess, your sins are gone. This time he gave him $80. So minister was like, you always give $20, why $80? Oh, next 4 weeks I'm busy, so take care of my sins. So that is usually the mentality. Even sometimes we may think we are chanting Hare Krishna, so we can commit few sins, little sins is okay. But that is a big aparadh, big offense. We should not commit sins on the strength of our devotional practice or spiritual practice. That is an offense. So that's why Parikshit Maharaj is raising this question that there is no benefit in this kind of atonement or prayashchit. It's like the elephant, what it does, elephant goes in the river, take bath, and then comes out and he start putting all the mud over himself again. So what's the use of taking the bath like that? So that's the example Srila Rupa Goswami is giving here. So we'll discuss few points about the first urge to speak. Now, how do we control the urge to speak? We all know people have the urge to speak. As soon as we meet somebody, we want to speak. As soon as this class will be over, we want to speak, right? There is a big, very strong urge. And when we go out and we see people are just talking about nonsense things, absolutely nonsense, which has no benefit in their life. Politics, sports, too much gossips going on outside also. And so how to control? How can we control? It's a very natural urge. Krishna has given us speech, right? How can we control it? How to address this problem? First, one must control his speaking power. This is the number one instruction. The way to control, the formula, the solution given by Srila Rupa Goswami is, we should only talk about Krishna and Krishna Katha. Now, what happens when we talk about Krishna? We start imbibing those qualities in ourselves. And one of the quality of Krishna is also Mridu Bhashi. He himself speaks less. He's very expressive, but he speaks less, right? And he's very deep, very grave. When he speaks, he's very grave. The whole Bhagavad Gita we see, very, very serious knowledge. So, it is also said that empty vessels make more noise. So the urge is more when we have half knowledge or we have too much gossip in our heart. But when we have real knowledge, divine knowledge, then that quality of Krishna, of speaking less, will come to us also. Second point is that when we talk about only Krishna, then we purify the environment. And when we can speak about Krishna in our mind also. When we are alone, also too much of chatting going on in our mind. So, and how can we make sure this we can apply in our life to talk more about Krishna? When we will hear more about Krishna, when we will read more about Krishna, then only we can implement this particular solution. Now, when we talk unnecessarily, what happens in general life? When somebody talks too much or unnecessarily, slowly, people will start disrespecting us. The value of our opinions, our talks is gone, slowly, when we speak too much. That's why all great people, they talk less. The very general observation we can see in the world. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the frog in the monsoon season. What does frog do? He will just do tur in the night when nobody is there to listen to him. but he will just to tur. He's thinking the whole world is listening to me. I'm the greatest orator. What happens? The snake comes and eats him. Right? Similarly, Srila Prabhupada is saying when we speak too much of mundane things, the kal, the death is coming to us slowly and slowly. The whole our time is going waste, and slowly, slowly the kal is coming, death is coming to us. But when we speak only Krishna Katha, only about Krishna, then it is said when whatever time we are spending in Krishna's service, in relation to Krishna and devotees, that is not counted in our material life. That age is not counted. It's a transcendental thing, but it is not counted. So we are going more towards Krishna. It's a very beautiful suggestion I heard from by His Holiness Sachinandan Swami. One thing we can implement, or we can try to implement, is whenever we call devotees also, maybe it could be for anything or any service also, maybe we can first tell them whatever we heard that day, or we have read about Krishna. It's very short pastime. And we can also ask them, you also tell me what you have heard today about Krishna. And then we start the conversation. That way the whole vibration will change. It will become Krishna conscious. So it's a very, very practical suggestion that I really liked it. I will try to implement. So whenever I call you, catch me on that. We have to talk about Krishna Katha. Now, when we are dealing with the outside world, so we have to be practical. We also go out and deal with the world. So how can we implement this suggestion? We cannot tell them just about Krishna, right away. Just hear me out. We cannot demand that, right? So one devotee was giving a talk, and he talked about very, very nice thing. There are 3 kinds of talks. We can categorize them into, one is white zone, pure Krishna Katha, that we can do with devotees. Second is black zone, where totally gossip, totally nonsense things that we have to avoid. Then in between is, what is more practical is green zone. So when we are with non-devotees who are not yet interested into the spiritual life, maybe they will be in the future, right? But right now, so what we can do, we can bring about the subjects which are very neutral. Oh, this government policy, how can it help uplifting the society? If we have to talk, and just talk and just do our duty as a social person and leave from there, right? We really don't have to get engaged in their nonsense talks. So we can, whenever we are talking, always categorize: am I in the white zone, black zone, or green zone? Right? It will take practice. It's not, again, it's an art, right, that we have to learn. Let's see, it's 5:45 already, so we will rush. Second one is very important, mansa, the urge of mind, right? How do we control the urge of mind? Can we ignore our mind? Not possible. Diverting, possible, but very, very difficult also, right? So always have a plan. Srila Jagannath Baldev Sudhara Mai ki jai, Narsingh Bhagwan ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai. How can we control our mind? Very practical solution is always have a plan. Always have some kind of plan for Krishna. Now when we say plan, just having a short-term plan is not enough. We should always have a plan, short-term, mid-term, long-term. So I was thinking about what example to give. So for example, right now my seva is to give this class. So I had that plan. I have to give the class, prepare some notes, right? As soon as the class is over, no more plan. If I don't have a plan, then my mind will go wherever, right? So I should have when I'm coming to temple, I should have a plan also. Oh, after the class, today my seva is class, what will I do after the class? What can I help with other services? Similarly, long-term plan. When even that mid-term plan is done, I'm driving back to home, what can I do? What else can I do? Next week, Bhakti Vriksha, or I will join that class, I will probably help with that festival. So some kind of, you got the idea, right? Always having the plan. That's what Srila Prabhupada used to do. Always have a plan. A devotee asked him, Prabhupada, do you have lefty desires? He said, no. And then he paused and he said, why you don't have, how come you don't have lefty desires? He said, because I'm always planning for Krishna. That's the only reason. If I don't plan, I will have the lefty desires also. So the point is that unless we have some concrete plans for ourselves in Krishna consciousness and for the society, then our mind will not be able to control. Now, okay, so we should always have a concrete plan. Now, understanding mind little better, what is mind? It's a constant flow of thoughts. It's not a physical entity, it's a constant flow of thought. Just like what is river? It's a constant flow of water. If water is stationary, it's not a river, right? Similarly, mind is always having some thoughts, constant flow of thoughts. So that's why we cannot control it. We cannot stop it. We can only transcend, like Srila Prabhupada says, dovetail into Krishna consciousness. If we try to stop it forcefully, what will happen? Water finds its way from some hole or some way, right? So it will find its way. So we have to regulate it and divert it. And Srila Prabhupada says in this purport, the restlessness or fickleness of mind is controlled when one can fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. And he quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Surya Saman, Maya hai andhikar, yaha Krishna tahi nahi Mayara adhikar. So wherever there is Krishna, there is, like sun, there is knowledge. And wherever there is no Krishna, it's andhikar. So we have to control our mind, to keep our mind always in the positive things, we have to have a plan for Krishna. And one of the practical thing that is suggested to us is have a very strong morning program. Our whatever number of rounds we are chanting, we chant in the morning, hear Krishna Katha, and then we leave for anything else. Just like, do we leave for work without charging our phone completely? We don't, right? We make sure generally that our phone is fully charged. Similarly, we charge our spiritual batteries completely before we leave from home or wherever, working from home or whatever, we're going into the material life. That way, our desires, our mind will be controlled whole day when our sadhana is strong in the morning. Very, very important. We should not ignore it. At least few rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the morning. If you can complete your prescribed rounds in the morning completely, that is even better. But very important, and Krishna Katha in the morning. And then we leave our home. And if we are performing deity worship, we do a whole our routine in the morning. So we discussed about the speech, the urge to control speech, the urge to control mind. What is the third one? Krodha, anger. Very, very difficult to control. Now, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, how does anger is manifested? Kamesha krodhesha, because of our desires. When desires are not fulfilled, anger is manifesting. So we cannot stop our anger altogether. Very difficult. We can try, but it's very difficult to control anger. So Srila Rupa Prabhupada gives the example of how can we divert this anger in Krishna consciousness. Instead of getting angry on mundane things, we control our anger so that if we get angry only when, let's say, somebody is blaspheming the devotees or Krishna, we take out our anger there. Just like, for example, Hanumanji. He manifested his anger, but it was in the service of Lord Ram, right? He burned the whole Lanka. Arjun, fighting without anger is not possible, right? But he used his anger in the service of Krishna, in following the instructions of Krishna, that fight. And then he used that anger. Whatever incident happened in their life, using those incidents, he used that anger to kill the enemies. Similarly, Mahaprabhu says Trinadapi Sunishena, unless we are in the humble state of mind. Humility is unless we are genuinely humble, not possible to tolerate anger. Now, a very nice pastime comes in the life of Srila Prabhupada. In Amsterdam, an initiation ceremony was going on. And everything was like hodgepodge, nothing was ready. All the devotees were new there, they don't know how to set up for initiation. Prabhupada just came a night before. No preparations were made properly. So Srila Prabhupada said, where are the fruits? No fruits for initiation ceremony. So devotee came and he cut the fruit. He thought Prabhupada wants to eat fruits. So that was the position of devotees there. He was visually very angry, Srila Prabhupada. And he was really almost angry on devotees. So one guest was sitting and watching all that. And he says, why are you so angry, Prabhupada? Just chant and be happy. See, who is telling whom? A new guest, first person who came, he must have heard about chant and be happy. And he is advising the founder Acharya of ISKCON, just chant and be happy. What did Srila Prabhupada do? He looked at him, took out his beads, start chanting. It's not easy. Only a person like Prabhupada who has zero false ego, he can do that, right? So, of course, he manifested that pastime to show us how to control our anger. Okay. So we can discuss a lot about anger, but I think we will move on. Then, jiva, tongue, very difficult to control. So how do we control in our spiritual life, in our Krishna conscious life? How do we control tongue? Prasad. But there are various levels of prasad also, right? On the name of prasad, we should not just, right? I'm talking to myself, should not overeat, should not, mostly what happens, what we offer to Krishna at home, I want to eat today, or whatever dish, let's offer to Krishna. It's better than not eating prasadam, but the point is that prasad definitely, we should make a commitment to ourselves, without prasadam, if it's not a prasadam, I will not eat. That's a way to control tongue. Now, another way to control tongue, and the next one is belly also, is this instruction comes in this book, is that we make a discipline of when we should eat, how many number of times we should eat in the day. That way we can control our tongue and belly. And then comes the last one, control the urges of genitals. So the various recommendations are given in this book. So we should have physical association only in marriage. And Srila Prabhupada also says that we should physically associate only to beget Krishna conscious child. That should be our desire. So various practical tips are given in the book. So I will highly recommend you take this book today and read these instructions and see how can we practice in the next 1 week before the verse 2 starts. So just quickly recap, and we'll open for question and answers for a few minutes. So 6 urges we talk about. See, Srila Prabhupada says there is no danger to our movement from outside. The danger is from inside. When devotees don't cooperate, don't go along with each other. Similarly, there is no other enemy. There is no enemy outside. All we think somebody has spoiled our projects, our mission, our assignments. Some devotees even they will blame other devotees about their devotional life. But the real enemy is these urges. Similarly, right? So, and without Krishna consciousness, we cannot control this mind and senses. Somebody was saying that I have left smoking 20 times. I'm able to control my urges and able to leave smoking 20 times. So what did he leave? Meaning, it comes back. So unless we get the higher taste and we engage our mind and senses in higher purpose, the spiritual life, it is not possible. See, we have to be very honest. What is our goal? And Are we setting up ourselves ready for it or not? A person went, he was looking for God. Somebody called, he heard about God. He wanted to meet God. So he went to a mountain. Somebody told him, go to the mountain, you speak loudly, you call out God, and he will come. So he went to the mountain and he started yelling, is God here? I want to meet God. I want to see him. So one sound came, very deep sound, that yes, I am God. What do you want? What can I give you? He said, how much is 100,000 years for you? He said, just a moment. It's like a moment for me. So he told, okay, great. And how much is $1 million for you? He said, just a penny. Oh, great. Can you give me a penny? He's trying to be smart with God. What did God say? Yeah, sure, wait for a moment. Wait for 100,000 years, we'll get it. Right? So the point is that we cannot cheat Krishna. So we have to be, when we are talking about these urges and trying to control them, we have to be honest in our heart. Are we honest or not? Okay, so I will stop here. We have hardly 4 or 5 minutes. Any questions, any comments anyone would like to make? We can discuss quickly.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class. Very much happy to have you back.
Yeah.
I was thinking you were talking about the manasati, because of the mind, the solution is to have the plans.
Yeah.
All over the place. I was wondering if you could comment, because examples you gave, right, were sort of spiritual plans. I don't know if you could comment a little further, because I was thinking, otherwise, I may have some plan, right? Well, I'll get this degree and this job, and then I'll have this salary, and then I will get, 2 Mercedes cars or something.
Right.
The material plans, right? If you could comment, did the material plans help us control the mind, or maybe have different kind of plans?
Right. I can give you one example that I always tell Suvrat, like when thinking about your education, right? Don't get very anxious. Don't take too much stress, but have a plan. Why are you going to study? Why are you going to college, right? And what do you want to do? When you're thinking about those things, make a plan where, oh yeah, of course we need money. I need money, right? So how much I need, how much I will be happy with, and what I need to do, what degree I need to get, or what skills I need to get, so that in less hours I can earn more. And then I can use that time for what? Why you want to earn more? Are you sincerely interested in spiritual life, or just for time pass, right? So make sure that if spiritual life is not the way to go, have fun, enjoy. At least you will be not in distress. Oh, I couldn't do this either, not this, right? But if spiritual life is something you think is the way to go and you like it, what Srila Prabhupada has given us, then also have a plan. This much time I will devote for my education, and I want to get a skill where I can work less but earn more, and then use that time for whatever I want to do. Maybe travel around, participate in Kirtan programs, or preaching. Who knows? These kids may become big preachers. I am sure they will. So work on those skills also. So I think we cannot separate material plus spiritual. It has to go side by side. I hope that helped. Maybe you can comment a little bit more, Pro.
No, I appreciate the answer.
Okay.
So you actually, right, the material is in service of the spirit.
Right, yeah. Sure. Anyone else would like to add? We can take one more question and then. Hare Krishna.
This question is from Mother Suya. She says, regarding anger, it states that one should be ready to tolerate all insults to one's own self. But when the Lord's devotees is blasphemy, a genuine devotee becomes angry against the offender. It's easier than done because generally people are more concerned about insults against themselves than others. And most of the time we have the attitude of, I don't want to get involved or it's not my problem. And how can we develop the mood of a genuine devotee becomes angry against the offender who is blaspheming other devotee?
Can you repeat the last part?
How then can we develop a mood of a genuine devotee becomes angry against the offender who has blasphemed a devotee?
Mhm. So, if I understand the question, how can we manage our anger in a devotee situation, right? So, first of all, see, the problem is the real problem why anger manifests is expectation, right? True? We have certain expectation from somebody, and that person is not able to fulfill that expectation, and then we are angry. Natural outcome of that. Now, that's why Srila Prabhupada says, one who is not following the formula of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what is the formula? Trinadapi Sunichena. Then when we look at that situation from the humility perspective, then we have expectation from that person, but how much, maybe that person also has expectation from us, right? So what we can remind to ourselves, maybe others also have expectations from me, and I'm not able to fulfill that expectations, so it's not easy for anybody to be, to fulfill my expectation also. Now, it is all game of expectations when it comes to anger. And the thought we should have is, am I able to fulfill others' expectation? If you think about it, not easy for us to change ourselves. So why we expect from others, right, that much? Now, in this regard, as I heard a pastime that Brahmachari went to His Holiness Radhanath Swami. He says, Maharaj, this devotee is very difficult, and he's creating a lot of nonsense, and he should be thrown out from the ashram. It was very strong. I'm sure there are some situations, right? Maharaj says, but Maharaj could sense that this devotee who is complaining in the complaining mood. He says, if I'm tolerating you, we should tolerate him also. So it's a very, very idealistic answer, right? Very general answer. But there might be practical situations where you have to do something for somebody. So we have to look at the situation and act, but when we get angry, we are worsening the situation, right? We have to handle. Expectations are not fulfilled, so we have to get the things done. But when we become angry, then probably we are worsening the situation. So we should always have a plan B, I would say, right? When it's a situation of service, we should try to develop a plan B and tolerate. Like Mahaprabhu says, we have to tolerate. As a devotee, we have to tolerate. Not sure if Mataji's answer was, but maybe I can check with her later. But that's a formula given to us by Srila Prabhupada, that we have to tolerate anger. Or otherwise, we have to, if expectation is not fulfilled, then two things we can do is we should have a very clear expectations. We can clarify to that person what we expect from that person, right? And then we can see whether that person is fit for that service, or maybe he wants to do some other service, whether he's a better fit. Then our expectations will be neutralized also, and that conflict will not come, right? So clarity of purpose, we can, maybe that person is not very clear on his service, right? That's why that situation is coming. We can do that. Is that the question that I'm trying to answer, right? Okay. Okay, so it's 6:05. We'll stop here. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai. Hare Krishna. Oh, so curtain is still closed. I'm so sorry. Maybe we can take one or two questions or comments again. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I like the point you mentioned, check out converge in what way, what category is coming. Is it the black,
Yeah.
white, green zone, or what?
Thank you for reminding, Prabhu. Yeah, well, that's a practice. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
So my question is something similar to what Anusya Mataji was asking about blasphemy. Like, how do you react if some atheist comes to you and starts blasphemy? Like, how exactly to react in such situation?
Can you give me an example, like somebody comes to you and start talking about somebody else?
I'm talking about like an atheist who
Uh-huh.
doesn't believe in God and tries to come to you and talk negative about God, things like that. How do we react in that situation?
Oh, okay. So, the reason he will come to you is because you have either invited him for a discussion, or he will just come like
Like a general.
general, he just comes and starts saying. So, see, only if somebody doesn't want to understand, he will not understand whatever you will say, right? So you can only advise him that why don't you read this book and you maybe gift Bhagavad Gita to him, and just read the introduction part, just see if that makes sense to you, and then we can talk about it. How about that? Because right now what you are saying is not as per my belief system. That's what not I have known. I don't know what you're trying to tell me. So how about you read this and then we can understand. You can try to divert a discussion like that. Because somebody who doesn't, if he says, no, I don't want to get it, it means he's not a person you can debate with. So you just leave the place politely. Because person who want to understand, who have a desire to understand, he will only listen to you. So argument will not work with those people. Any practical example anyone can give who might have ended up in this kind of situation when somebody comes and just start blaspheming Krishna?
Blaspheming Krishna or blaspheming the devotees?
I think any god. Like that, I believe. I don't. Some people just they feel proud. I don't believe in God, right? They are very proud of it. I think that's the best way to deal with it. Just ignore that, right? Or you can offer your help, and then if they don't want to take help, then Haribo. Yes. Yeah. But definitely we should not hear from such people. We should not allow ourselves to get contaminated, whether they are blaspheming God or devotees, in fact. So I heard Gaurang Prabhu from Pune, or from Bombay, right? He's from Gaurang Prabhu. He visited US. He comes every year. In one congregation he went, and one person was looking for the opportunity, and he came and said, Hare Krishna Prabhu, you are so great, and this and that. He started blaspheming about the temple management right away. Gaurang Prabhu says, Prabhu, how are you doing? He literally ignored him and started talking to somebody, some other person, right? So we should not allow that conversation itself. Just ignore plainly. Sometimes we start getting liking those discussions, right? And then that's where we get trapped. If we can defend, we can defend. Otherwise, we should just leave the place. Shastra says, if you heard a criticism, you should commit suicide. Very strong, right? So it's a Shastric recommendation, but practically not possible for us, and we don't want to do that, right? So best way is, Shastra also says, or leave the place. Either defend, leave the place, or commit suicide. So we follow first two, they are good enough. Mataji, I'm not sure if I answered your question completely, or whether you heard it, but...
I heard part of it.
Okay.
I'll play it.
Okay.
Because the recording
Right.
is back,
Right.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else, while we are waiting for the curtain to be open? When we talk, if nobody has a question, I can cover a couple of more points about anger. So one way we can handle anger is, we already discussed few points. ACT, A-C-T. A meaning adjust. adjust our expectations, tolerate the behaviors. And second one is C, clarify needs and values. See, when somebody is not listening to us, it means probably we are not able to fulfill his needs and wants. Those might be whatever demands and needs, right? They may be appropriate, inappropriate. But the reason the person is behaving is because his needs are not fulfilled, right? So we clarify our needs and wants. We clarify our purpose to that person. So that way, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Shri Nrsimha Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. And third is T, transcend. Even after doing all this, adjusting, tolerating, conveying our values, our purpose, our needs, if it is situation is not helping, it's not getting improved, then we engage ourselves in the higher service. Don't go back into that loop. Because the biggest problem with the anger is resentment. We end up getting angry and then we resent. We are not able to forget the situation or forgive the person. So to forget and forgive, we have to transcend ourselves into higher service. Right? So, and that has to be done under instructions, right? So, anyway. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Again, humble request to please give some donation and take this book, beautiful book, and read it. Next 7 weeks, we are going to discuss this book only. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Kati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Evalaba Gati Sadma Bando Mui Savadana Mati Bando Mui Savadana Mati Jahara Prasadevai Ibavatoriya Jai Jahara Prasadevai Ibavatoriya Jai Krishna Prati Ho Ja Oti Krishna Prati Ho Ja Oti Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya Arana Kuri Ho Mani Asha Ana Kuri Ho Mani Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttama Gati De Prasade Pore Sava Acha De Prasade Pore Sava Acha Chakudan diloje janme janme Prabhu se Chakudan diloje janme janme Prabhu se Deve gyan hriday prakashito Deve gyan hriday prakashito Prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasha jate Prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasha jate. Vede jai jahara charito. Vede jai jahara charito. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Prabhu Korodoya Deho More Pada Chaya. Prabhu Korodoya Deho More Pada Chaya. Jas Gushukti Bhuvana. Ebe Jas Gushukti Bhuvana. Srila Prabhupada Paticha Pavana. Srila Prabhupada Paticha Pavana. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Yethai Go Haribo, 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 Yethai Go Haribo. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Get rid of it. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Go Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Go Bhaktavinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Go Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Guru. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagana, Jaya Jagana, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gaura Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Jaya, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Jaya Jaya Guru Dev. Nithai Gora Haribo, 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 Nithai Gora Haribo. Nithai Gora Haribo, 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 Nithai Gora Haribo. Gora Premanande, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Privajagacharya, Astotara Satyasishi Mata's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Privajagacharya, Astotara Satyasishi Mata's Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki, Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki, ISKCON founder Acharya Sri Prabhupada ki, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivacharya Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Mathura Dham ki, Navadvip Dham ki, Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Jagannath Swami ki, Ganga Mai ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Nithai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladalaini. Hiranyakashipu Vaksha. Hiranyakashipu Vaksha. Silatanka Nakalai. Silatanka Nakalai. Dito Nasingo Parano Nasingo. Dito Nasingo Parato Nasingo. Yato yato ya mijato nesinga. Bahir nesingo Hridaye Nisingo Narasingha Mahadev Sharanam Papadye Tavakara Kamara Vare Nakam Abhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadita Nara Hari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadi, Jaya Jagadi, Jaya Jagadi Shari. Jaya Jagadi, Jaya Jagadi, Jaya Jagadi Shari. Jaya Singh Hare, Singh Hare, Singh Hare, Jaya Singh Hare. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Singha Bhagavan ki, Prahlad Maharaj ki, Gaura Premanande.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
really like me anymore. Haribol, Haribol. So, yes, so it'll be a wonderful time to experience association, hearing, chanting, dancing. You know, it's really nice. I don't know if this is a true myth or not, but my mother used to always tell me, stop moving? Okay. My mother used to always tell me that if you do something good on New Year's Day, you do it all year round. I don't know how true that is, but I know one thing that I used to do is I used to clean my house so that and then I find myself cleaning my house all year round. So I don't think I'm doing it this year. So what I would suggest is if we all come and dance Kirtan on January 1st, we'll be dancing all year round. What do you think? Hariva, right? So please join us on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And it's okay, this is good. Thank you, Beta. And let me see if I missed one other. Oh, yes, there's one other announcement I would like to really make, and that is we have few books for children. We have a little small Inti Tinsy Wincy library in the nursery room downstairs. And I just came across a lot of books for children. If any of you want to read a Krishna storybook to your kids, please use what's downstairs. We have so many books. There's at least about 20 books down there, 20 to 30 books. So please feel free to take a copy, take it home, read it as a bedtime story for your kids, and bring it back so that others can also benefit. And interestingly, we found another basket full of books for the adults. So we can also open a little Insy Tinsy Wincy library for the adults that you can take home and read and bring it back. So please make use of that. And a last request is we have a very nicely built shoe rack in the shoe room. Unfortunately, we know the Gyan but not the Vigyan, right, Nitya Gopal? So we humbly request devotees to please put your shoes on the shoe rack. I can promise you that shoe rack can take about 50 pairs of shoes. Probably 70, we have 2. But it's very cumbersome when it falls on the floor, and when a child is trying to get to the shoes, they trip and fall. And it also looks neat, you know, and we have a sign there. So we humbly request devotees, please, when you come in, if we can put the shoes on the shoe rack rather than on the floor, so that we can because we know the Gyan, let's apply the Vigyan and put the shoes on the rack, so that way it looks neat and nice. And just to inform devotees, I'm giving all of you 7 months notice that we have confirmed our Rath Yatra date. It's on July 8th. We just got confirmation, got the receipt, got to pay the invoice next week, but we got it. And the blessing is we have the whole farm to ourselves. I mean, so not farm, God have mercy. What is that? City Island. Thank you. The park, yes. There is no game that day. There's no restriction that day. So we can go in and walk out whatever time you want, however time you want. So please do mark your calendars. July 8th is our Rath Yatra date, and it is confirmed. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for being part of this family. And thank you for joining the bandwagon. We ask you to please see the deities. Please do not leave home without prasadam. Yes. Prabhupada Marathon, Nitya Gopal, you slacked. Prabhupada Marathon, how many books do we have? 63 is the count. We are getting there. We are getting there. So if anyone would like to take books to distribute, Bhagavad Gita, please, 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 please. We have literally, 12 days. Today is the 17th, right? So we have 14 days. 2 weeks, absolutely, 14 days. Let's try to shoot the goal. We are less than 50 books away. If each of us can take about 4 or 5 books, we can put it out in different venues. Please do so. And our goal is 108. And I know we can do it. So let's just do some magic. Pray for Prabhupada's mercy. And if anyone wants mercy, go to Prabhupada. He's our Shiksha Guru. Ask him, and he will give us the empowerment to give out books. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Haribol, 1 minute. Pranav, can you do the Rohin, someone? Okay. Prasadam prayers. Come on, guys, do it.
Ma prasade govinde, ma prasade go. Namo brahmane vaishnave, namo brahmane vaishnave. Svalpa punyavatam rajan. विश्वासो नैव जायते विश्वासो नैव जायते शरीरार विद्याजाल शरीरार जोगेंद्रिय दहे काल जोगेंद्रिय दहे जीवे पले विषय सागोरे विपले विषय सक तारा माते जीवायति लोभोलमोय सुधर्मति लोभोलमोय सुधर्म तागिचता कतिन संसारे किचता कतिन संसारे कृष्णा बारो दयामोय कृष्णा बारो गौरी बारे जीवो जाए गौरी बारे जीवो जाए स्वाप्रसादम दिलो भाई स्वाप्रसाद सही अन्नमृत पाओ सही अन्नमृत राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण प्रेमिता को चैतन्य निताय प्रेमिता को चैतन्य निताय जय निमाय जय निताय जय निमाय जय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे राम हरे राम हरे राम हरे राम राम हरे हरे राम राम हरे राम राम हरे हरे राम राम और राम राम हरे हरे महाप्रसादम की राधे श्याम जय जय श्री राधे श्याम जय जय श्री राधे श्याम महाप्रसादम की Prasadam is served downstairs.